Welcome to a special meditation on 1111, a day of unique numeric significance. In numerology, certain numbers are considered more powerful or spiritually significant, and these are often referred to as master numbers. The master numbers include 11, 22, and 33. With 11 being particularly associated with spiritual insights and awakening. The concept of 1111 is often associated with spiritual awakening, alignment, and synchronicity. The number 11 is often seen as a symbol of spiritual insight, intuition, and enlightenment. It is believed to represent a gateway to higher consciousness and expanded awareness. The concept of alignment and synchronicity is linked to the idea that seeing the number 11, especially in a repeated or significant way, such as 1111 on a calendar, is a sign of alignment with the universe. Some believe it signifies that an individual is on the right path and in harmony with cosmic energies. Synchronicity, in this context, refers to meaningful coincidences that go beyond mere chance. The appearance of 1111, or the number 11 in various aspects of life, is believed to be a sign that the universe is communicating with an individual, guiding them on their spiritual journey. Numbers are considered a universal language that transcends culture and linguistic barriers. The patterns and relationships between numbers can be observed across different disciplines, from mathematics to science and spirituality. Today, we will explore the concept of synchronicity in the universe. where seemingly unrelated events align in meaningful ways. Find a comfortable and peaceful space to sit or lie down and gently close your eyes. Begin by taking a few deep breaths. Inhale deeply through your nose and exhale slowly through your mouth. With each breath, release any tension and distractions. Feel the rhythm of your breath connecting you to the present moment. As you continue to breathe deeply, imagine that you are at the center of a cosmic web, and all around you are threads of connection, weaving a tapestry of life. These threads represent moments, events, and people in the universe. Visualize the number 11 in its symmetry, forming a gateway of alignment. With each inhale, imagine yourself passing through this gateway, entering a space where synchronicity is amplified. Explore your own life experiences, looking for moments of synchronicity when events seem to align in a meaningful way. It could be a chance meeting, an unexpected message, or a decision that led to a significant outcome. Reflect on how these moments made you feel and what they might signify in the grand tapestry of your life. Connect with universal intelligence. Imagine that the threads of the cosmic web are not random but guided by a universal intelligence. Picture this intelligence as a warm, radiant light at the center of the web, infusing it with purpose and meaning. Reach out of your consciousness to connect with this radiant light. Understand that you are an integral part of the universe. As you connect, you may receive insights, wisdom, or a sense of profound interconnectedness. Allow these feelings and thoughts to flow naturally. Now, set an intention for the special day of 11/11. It could be a wish, a goal, or a commitment to recognize and embracing synchronicity in your life. State your intention with gratitude and clarity, as if the universe is already responding. Embrace the present. Slowly bring your awareness back to the present moment. Feel the connection of your breath, grounding you in the here and now. You are a conscious observer in the tapestry of the universe, where synchronicity is a reminder of the interconnectedness of all things. As we conclude this meditation, express your gratitude for the synchronicities you've experienced and those that are yet to come. Remember that the universe is in a constant state of alignment, guiding your journey. When you are ready, gently open your eyes, carrying the awareness of synchronicity with you as you continue your day.